Welcome to The Truth. Today we will debate one of the most controversial political questions, which is, will Russia attack and invade Europe after it occupy Ukraine? And we will ask AI about that, so we brought two different AI tools with different clues. We have David on the right who has all the clues that answer this question by yes, and Jessica on the left who has all the clues that answer this question by no. Now the first question is, which European countries are considered most vulnerable to potential Russian aggression after Ukraine? Okay, look, let's cut the military jargon. We're talking about real countries, real people here. If Russia rolls through Ukraine, who's next on the chopping block? Seriously, it's not rocket science. First off, those Baltic states, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, they're basically sitting ducks. Small, right on Russia's doorstep, and they've got those Russian-speaking minorities, which, let's be honest, Putin loves to use as an excuse. NATO's there, sure, but can they react fast enough? That's the million-dollar question. Then you've got Moldova. Man, they're practically half-occupied already with Transnistria. They're like a wounded animal just waiting for the predator to finish the job. And don't forget Georgia. They've been there before, they know what Russia is capable of. They are like a target with a big red circle drawn around it. And Bosnia? A powder keg. A mess of ethnic tensions, and Russia's stirring the pot. It's like watching a slow-motion car crash. Basically, anyone who's small, close to Russia, and maybe a little unstable. They're sweating bullets right now.
Look, the vulnerable talk gets overblown. Sure, the Baltics get mentioned first, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. Small, former Soviet states, right? But NATO's got serious presence there now. Poland too, they beefed up their defenses, and they're no pushovers. Frankly, the idea Russia's rolling tanks through Europe after Ukraine, it's a stretch. They've shown their hand, and it wasn't a winning one. They're bogged down, their equipment's taking a beating, and the West's unity is stronger than anyone predicted. Any further invasion would be a suicide mission. So, while we watch the borders, stop seeing a domino effect. The real fight's in Ukraine, and that's where Russia's stuck.
Okay, now the second question is, what are the potential scenarios for a Russian attack on a NATO member state, and what would be the alliance's response?
Okay, listen up. Russia's game? Likely a hybrid approach, hitting a vulnerable flank like the Baltics or perhaps Poland's eastern border. Think rapid, localized strikes, cyber warfare, disinformation, then little green men seizing key points, claiming to protect Russian minorities. They'd aim for a swift fait accompli, hoping to fracture NATO's resolve. NATO's response? Triggering Article 5, of course, but the speed and scale are critical. Expect a phased deployment, initial rapid reaction forces, then heavier reinforcements. Air superiority is paramount, followed by a ground counteroffensive.
Right, let's be pragmatic. A full-scale Russian invasion of NATO? Highly improbable. Consider the logistics, the sheer might of the alliance. More likely, we'd see hybrid warfare, cyber attacks, disinformation, perhaps a gray zone incursion targeting a vulnerable Baltic state's periphery, something ambiguous. Think a staged uprising needing protection. NATO's response? Article 5 activation is a given, though the speed and scale would depend on the provocation. Expect a swift, calibrated escalation, initial cyber countermeasures, rapid deployment of forward-positioned forces, and then, if necessary, decisive conventional strikes. Air superiority is paramount. They know this. A direct, overt land grab? That's a suicide mission for them, and they aren't suicidal.
Perfect. Now the last question is, how likely is it that Russia would escalate to the use of nuclear weapons in a conflict with NATO?
Gentlemen, let's be blunt. Russia's doctrine, unlike ours, entertains tactical nuclear use far earlier. They see it as a de-escalation tool, a chilling concept. Faced with a conventional defeat, a cornered bear lashes out. They've modernized their arsenal, low-yield options specifically. If they perceive NATO as an existential threat and a conventional push falters, the nuclear threshold becomes disturbingly low. They'd gamble on our resolve wavering, on fracturing the alliance. It's a calculated risk on their part, a dark one, but a risk they'd take. You must not underestimate their willingness to escalate.
Okay, the notion of Russia initiating a nuclear exchange with NATO is, frankly, strategically unsound. While they possess a nuclear arsenal, its deployment would be suicidal. They understand mutually assured destruction as well as you do. Their conventional forces, while formidable, are not poised for a broad European conquest. Any tactical nuclear use would invite immediate, overwhelming retaliation, rendering any gains utterly meaningless. They're not irrational. Think of it, Russia's primary objective is regional influence, not continental annihilation. Their nuclear posturing is a tool of coercion, a way to maintain a perceived edge, not a battle plan. They'll bluster, they'll maneuver, but they won't trigger Armageddon. It simply doesn't serve their long-term interests.
Thank you very much. Now to those who are watching this video, what do you think? Give us your opinion in the comments, because your opinion is important for us, and thanks a lot.